ever wonder why we wear costumes during Halloween in the first place? Sébastien Després is no stranger to putting on a mask. He's competed in the George Street Mardi Gras costume contest for years, having won it 5 times. He's also doing a PhD in anthropology at Memorial University. Now, I reached Sébastien Després in Witless Bay to find out what the appeal is all about. I began asking him what kind of costumes he saw at this year's Mardi Gras.
There were hundreds of different costumes, maybe even thousands of different costumes. There were costumes from popular culture references, costumes from, for instance, movies that came out this year and last year. There were people dressed up in all sorts of ridiculous outfits. For instance, there's people dressed up, since Mardi Gras happens in St. John's, people were dressed up as row houses, people were dressed up as fish. There was people dressed up as Waldo. There were hundreds of Waldos. They weren't hard to spot.
And what did you dress up as, Sébastien?
I was dressed up as the March Hare. So I was basically an 11.5-foot tall, scary bunny rabbit.
You were pretty creepy, were you?
I would say that I was amongst the creepier costumes on George Street that night, yeah.
Sébastien, what do you think inspires people to dress up in a certain way during Halloween?
Every society has these events where you turn the society upside down. You change the social codes. You question the rules and regulations that control everyday life, or that regiment it, or that make everyday life livable for everybody. Costuming traditions exist everywhere, and it's so that people can renew society. We expose the sacred and make it part of the everyday. We take what's perceived as dirty, as taboo, as questionable, as sketchy, and we put it out there for everyone to see. All the skeletons come out of the closets.
What is up, though, with guys dressing up as caricatures of women, wigs, heels, big boobs, but also women who dress up as men, as the uber manly truck driver or the lumberjack?
Well, as I said, Halloween and these rituals are about reversals. So we take what's normally expected and we reverse it. We transform it into this other thing that's scared, that's creepy, that's different. So men who are not normally cross-dressers will feel free to cross-dress for Halloween. Women who normally feel that candor is important will dress up in more revealing clothing, more revealing costumes.
The super sexy nurse costume, for example.
The super sexy nurse costume is one of the better known examples, yes.
And do you think costumes can ever go too far?
Oh, costumes definitely go too far. That's often the point of costuming, is to take it too far. If you would think about the zombie, for instance, the zombie represents death come back to life. That's already taking it too far. But what a lot of costumes do is they make us question, or they make us stop and pause and think about the rules that we play with. We see a lot of discussion, for instance, about the question of dressing up as other. Is it okay to wear a Pocahontas costume? Who is it okay for? It's no longer considered okay by a lot of people to dress up in blackface because of the histories that accompany that practice. But people still do it, and people still push the boundaries.
Sébastien, what's the craziest costume you've ever seen, that really made you raise your eyebrows?
That made me raise my eyebrows?
Uh-huh.
It's hard for me to be
shocked,
surprised by a costume. The craziest costume that I've ever seen on George Street was my own creation.
Ah.
And it was crazy because of its size and scope. I had built a 20-foot-long fish that, a codfish, of course, that as a fisherman I fished, I cut its head off, gutted, and transformed it into a salt cod. The point of the costume was that the salt cod was the result of this transformation, was a ghost, the ghost of the cod. So it was a political statement about Newfoundland and Newfoundland identity as we perceive it, right? But I mean, some costumes make you raise your eyebrows because they're in poor taste, or that they can be judged as being in poor taste.
So it's these days that we're allowed to break the rules.
We take the right, right?
Ah.
It's not somebody that gives us the right. It's a right that we take as a commentary.
Surely kids who are going to be going out door to door with their cute costumes, is that really about rebellion?
Some are. I mean, those kids that dress up as Spider-Man, sure, it's not about rebellion. It's about saving the world and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, being the superhero. But a lot of kids do dress up as in very rebellious ways. Think about the sexy cheerleader. They're rebelling against the rules that normally prevent them from revealing too much skin.
Why is this rebellion tolerated during Halloween?
These rites and rituals, for instance, Halloween, Mardi Gras, mummering, allow us to rebel against a certain kind of order in a certain way. And this is typically accepted because there's a need for it.
What, it helps to let off steam, does it, or?
Well, yes, the first purpose is to let off steam. The first purpose is to bring issues to light. It makes us realize that everyday life, or it helps us realize that everyday life is something that we shouldn't take for granted, for instance.
What are you going to be dressing up as tonight during Halloween and as the kids come knocking on your doors?
I'll be dressing up as the Mad Hatter.
Sébastien, it's very, very interesting to learn more about why we dress up in costumes and how we push the envelope. I want to thank you very much this morning for telling us all about it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Bye now.
Bye.
And that is Sébastien Després. He won the George Street Mardi Gras costume contest a total of 5 times in St. John's. He's doing his PhD in anthropology at Memorial University. And here is a fun fact. He also happens to be the mayor of Witless Bay. Now here's a song by the Swingin' Neckbreakers. No costume, no candy.